They are all around us, but we usually do not see them. Most of them are not interested in humans anyway, but when one hits its target, it can become visible. Because, as Peter Meadows said, a virus is a piece of bad news wrapped up in a protein. Whatever the symptoms, or whatever organism they infect, all viruses have something in common. They contain a set of instructions, or a message. For each virus, this message determines its structure, as well as the species it can infect and the symptoms that it triggers. Viruses are not the only organisms that contain a message defining their characteristics. Such a message is actually found in all living beings inhabiting our planet. More precisely, each organism's message is called its genome. Despite being written in the same alphabet, genomes for different organisms can have very different lengths. The genome of the Zika virus, for example, contains about 10,000 characters, about 300,000 times less than the 3 billion characters of the human genome, which itself is 50 times smaller than the biggest genome currently known, the flowering plant Paris japonica. In fact, there is no link between the complexity of an organism and the length of its genome. Just because viral messages are short, that does not mean that they are easy to understand. After all, these small structures of a few dozen of a millionth of a millimeter can change the inner working of our bodies when they infect us, and that of the people around us. And that is because viruses are bad news that spread, infecting one individual and then moving to another. Coughing, food, contact. There are many different ways that different viruses spread, but in order for any virus to spread, it has to be able to multiply. This requires a virus to copy its message, a step that it cannot perform alone. To copy its message, the virus hacks the resources and tools of the organism it infects. However, the virus still encounters a problem every organism copying a message has to face: the risk of making some mistakes. In the end, changes arise randomly in every new copy of the genome of a virus. Some of these changes can be negative for the virus. It may not be able to spread its message anymore. Some changes are neutral. They do not alter the virus' ability to spread its message. Others, finally, can be beneficial for the virus, making it better able to spread its message. Just as viruses are not the only organisms to contain a message, they are also not the only ones to make mistakes while copying it. In fact, every living being does. The error rate depends on the length of the message that needs to be copied and the reliability of the organism's tool to do so. Viruses, for example, are usually unable to correct their mistakes, whereas humans can. We, humans, make about one random error for each 100 million characters copied, which means about 30 errors for full copies of our genomes. As for viruses, all of these changes are not harmful. They can also be neutral or beneficial. This replication process is as old as life itself. Like a message being shared by word of mouth, genetic messages evolve. And some specific modifications, which allow organisms to better adapt to their environment, spread from generation to generation. For viruses, the replication process is very rapid. One copy of the message can yield several million copies in a few days or even hours. Each copy will have its own 1 or 2 random changes. In other words, the speed at which a message evolves is close to the speed at which an epidemic spreads. Can the way a virus evolves tell us something about how to control its outbreak? Stay tuned for the next episodes of Arevo.